So my current E3 presentation of learning will consist of a few things I wanted to go over, talking about generally what we've talked about when I was here with Aaron Powers, my mentor, and just sort of stuff that we've been able to write and go through and look over and what I've basically been able to learn previously. So, as you might not know, but I was doing a poetry section with, again, Aaron Powers, and he is technically a grad in the English portion of things with an emphasis on poetry. He actually does a lot of stuff around with Loveland and all of the general arts portions of Loveland. And he sat down with me on the first day, and we tried to figure out what we wanted to go over with, because this is poetry. We didn't really know what foot to start to set off with, really, for this part of this mentorship. So really, we sat down there and asked for a few questions back and forth. I asked him about general things, such as like, what is a sonnet? What is going to be a quadruport? Or some other various things. I took notes, and he has also been taking notes, which has been extremely helpful in the whole process of going over and figuring out what I wanted to learn about. And in this poetry, I've generally been very happy with learning many of the different aspects and terminology and the helpful things with just pieces of what poetry is, like things such as rhyme scheme and the different types of poems, because what we broke it down to was there are like usually three associated terms of general poetry, which would be sonnets, which we had first, Shakespeare for example, and then you would have free verse, which is basically the all-encompassing term involving just poetry. Like if you just sat down and started writing, you can call it poetry. It doesn't have to have a rhyme scheme, it doesn't have to have a format, it just has to be a written word that you have put down and decided to reflect upon. Another thing that we went over would have to be, besides rhyme scheme, which is a very important thing I'll hit later, is also sort of, besides sonnets, we have ballads also sort of fit into this because they reflect upon and use music and poetry in more of a musical format. Music itself can also be considered a form of poetry because it is self-expression through words, and they're split to lyrics. So besides that, we also have spoken word, which is the spoken aspect of poetry, obviously, but it is in that the reading and deciding the tone and how you're going to convey the emotions you want to convey from your work to really express what you want, what you've written about, and how you feel about it. Because within that, you are better able to appeal sometimes through use of spoken word, because not all the time can everybody pick up on the underlying message or tone that you have placed into your words. So sometimes it's also better to sit down or go to stand-up poetry and speak it out. So, for example, I'm going to read here some of my recent stuff that I've done here with Aaron. And I also sort of just do poetry for fun because it's something I enjoy, and that's why I wanted to do poetry here at E3, which has been an extreme privilege to do. But this one, I was thinking about what I wanted to write about and topics, and I was sitting there talking to my friend, and she was issuing thoughts about rain and how rain is just such an emotional type of weather. So I decided to figure out how I could tap into that. So here we go. Damp is the ground upon which we stand, drenched by soft rain and rolling land, licking at our feet with blades of green, but covered by blue or drops of dream. The sky is almost a story, and when it falls to the ground, it brings with it some glory, and hits with a splat of sound. From time to time it will land upon a forehead, maybe a tree, an oak perhaps, or on the wet grass we refer to as the floor. and upon your head. Raindrops can laugh as they fall. They can dance about and twirl, never quite feeling that tall. But still they enjoy what they have. They just want to land and give giant hugs. They just want to get in your hair and model about, and into your clothing and soak you. Just to share their love and happiness with everyone they touch. Nurturing all the grass and trees is no simple task. No, no. These little drops must burrow to the roots, be sucked up all on their own accord. But they do it for the love of life. Sacrifice has no meaning to them. These selfless paratroopers of the sky, they only do what is asked of them by nature. They only share what little they have for the greater good. In a way, we should all take a lesson from the raindrops. We should laugh and play, and never be afraid to love. Never ever be afraid to love. For love is what gives the raindrops life, and it is what gives us life too. They just choose to hide it at times, but it's all true. That one, really, I implemented a rhyme scheme, if you would pick that up earlier, which is the use of repeated either 1-2 syllables or in a pattern that follows. Like, you'll have the first sentence, which will lead off and have a word at the end. It'll be your first term that you rhyme with. Your second sentence will go on in the end, will have the second term. And then the third sentence will have something that rhymes with the first term, and the fourth will have something that rhymes with the second, that's a 1-2. Or you can go with the typical every other line, which is, you will go through the line that will have rhyming sound, and then the next line will rhyme with it, and you'll go on and trade out each individual rhyme that goes with each word. In a way, it's easier to do typical each line rhymes with the next one because it's easier to think of things on the spot. But if you implement a rhyme scheme, such as the 1-2, it makes the reader think a little bit more. And what Aaron was speaking with me about was also how you need to implement just every once in a while, throw in a random word. Surprise them. Make the reader go back and think, what did you just say? It makes them realize they're not just reading, they're actually trying to understand what it is. They go back and they have to reread the sentence and sort of figure out what the connotation is. He had me write a few things, and Aaron also had me, we read through part of the Odyssey and picked out like 4 random words, for example. He picked out 4, I picked out 4. Random pages, random paragraphs, just 4 random words, absolutely random. We did a couple of weeks ago. And we went through, and after that, after picking those 4 words, we sat down and we did a 10-minute quick write. Just 10-minute quick poem, didn't have to be free verse, could be have a rhyme scheme in it, didn't have to, it could just be roughly whatever you wanted to, you just had to write. And in essence, from the 4 words I had, which I believe were Odysseus, the charioteer, meandering, I believe, and marching, I was able to capture the essence of Odysseus, the character, and I had not actually even read the book before, which was the cool part about that. But I had just been able to, from even just simple glances at the context of things, been able to bring forth and reimagine that character in a poetic format. He also talked with me about a few things, such as besides Shakespeare, we had talked about, well, a few of his college professors had written books, and we looked at some more modern work by him, then one of which had more of a modern tone, giving that he wrote it was more of a story poem. It didn't really follow a certain rhyme scheme or anything. It was just a kind of a story that read out as you played through it. But at times, some of his work also rhymed. I enjoy implementing the rhyming scheme myself because it's more fun to read, and I enjoy speaking it. So, to bring this all together, this is really being able to help me explore poetry and understand what makes up poetry and the specific pieces that allow this to coincide with the rest of the world, and how that fits in with writing in English in our modern day. You also have to understand that grammar and the English language do not limit you when you are writing poetry. You can make up your own words, as we saw from a few authors, and it doesn't necessarily have to make sense. We went over an E. Cummings poem in my literature class at my high school, and made completely no sense, but at the same time was able to convey a lot of things that E. Cummings felt about the time period, just by spacing stuff out and using random words and capitalization and bringing it all spread out. I was able to really tap into what E. Cummings felt about how the 1920s were. So, in that, I believe that this has been extremely good use of my time, and I was very glad that I had been able to learn all this.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
So what are you planning to do career-wise?
Career-wise, English itself and the use of poetry and being able to understand here in the real world is an aspect that all of us need to be able to understand and communicate better with other people, because it's a valuable part of any job, is being able to communicate with your coworkers or your boss, or to communicate with just about anyone. If we can have a better understanding of how to communicate and we want to say better, then that can help us improve in how we do our work and how we go through day-to-day life.
So I guess what I'm wondering, because I'm a mom and I know you, and I know you want to focus on engineering or something like that, and I hear you talk about this, and you obviously have a real love for poetry and the English language, and I'm wondering how are you thinking you can incorporate that, moving forward, because I would hate to see you in physics and calculus and all these classes and neglecting this part of you, because this is big stuff.
It's a part of me. It's not going to go away. But I might take it up as a hobby or end up writing myself. But that's yet to be explored. But in calculus, perhaps not so much calculus. That's one math based. But physics, for example, your lab write-ups, if you can better explain what you're doing and talking about there through that, or make it a little fun for the professor to read, it's always a good thing.
What's been your biggest challenge in E3 this year?
Getting to meet with Aaron. We've had a couple of on and off weeks where we both either been sick or out of town. But that and, thinking of how to go about writing the specific things you want to read and write. Because most of the time you can just sit down and write about poetry, but if it gives you a format, which he did several times, first step in figuring out what I'm going to write about and how I'm going to fill in the blanks of that format and really embody that was a little bit difficult to say. But yeah.
So would you encourage other students to explore what they could do in E3? Would you recommend the program?
Very much so. It's a valuable learning experience, and I'm very glad.
Awesome. I've enjoyed having you here, and I'm so glad the partnership with Aaron worked out with you. You guys seem like a great pair. Do you think you'll continue that relationship as friends or as a mentor-mentee?
Quite possibly. He's offered to take me to several events in Loveland and been able to do some speech rights. I haven't had the time lately, but I'm sure that'll free up over the summer and I'll see what I can do with it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt.